Welcome back to Cloud 2K, and this is the Cloud Report. So I'm here to talk about the stuff that's been kind of shaking the news, the basketball news, kind of all media news. Like last week, the beef now between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. And I kind of have a timeline here. We're going to go through piece by piece and kind of talk about what is happening, my thoughts on it, and like where we're really going with sports media nowadays. So back on January 28th, Stephen A. Smith went on his show and pleaded with LeBron James to stop allowing his son Bronny to be exposed in the NBA. And the quote was, "I am pleading with LeBron James as a father, stop this, stop this. We all know Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. You're exposing your son like this." And then, obviously, we have the moment where LeBron, after the game, or was it during the game against the New York Knicks, confronted Stephen A. Smith on the sideline. They kind of like, not got in each other's face, but like LeBron walked up to him, said some stuff that we don't really know exactly what he said right now. And then kind of after that, Stephen A. Smith came out and was like, it was kind of a weird thing because he said he didn't want to talk about it, but then he immediately brought it up. And the quote was, "That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly I might add, to confront me about making sure I mind what I say about his son. I can't repeat the words because they aren't suited for FCC airways. That's what he was doing. Now that I thought long and hard about this over the last few hours because I had no intention of talking about this at all. And the reason why is because it was a one-on-one. I wouldn't say conversation, but it was a one-on-one confrontation. That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted about LeBron James in any way." We'll now come to see very, very shortly why that was a complete lie on Stephen A. Smith's part, because he very much got angry and became very, very slighted by this whole thing. Smith then proceeded to continue talking about everything, calling James weak for how he acted. Seems like somebody that maybe is a little slighted or maybe a little bit upset about what had happened. The longtime NBA personality has made multiple appearances across different networks to get his point across. Everything then seemed to die down, but then James reignited the feud between the two men. While appearing on the Pat McAfee show this week, James read Smith to filth, and then everything came back up. He's on like a Taylor Swift tour right now. This is from LeBron. It started off with, I didn't want to address this. I wasn't going to address it, but since the video came out, I felt the need to address it. MF, are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait until the video dropped so you could address it, it's your ass, and he completely missed the whole point. Smith also added that if James had touched him during the initial conversation, he would have swung on the NBA superstar. Stephen A. Smith, in part of those swinging comments, said, "And let me state for the record while we bring up that, let me assure you it wouldn't have gone down like that. I would have got my ass kicked because if that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him immediately. That I'm not going to tolerate." Okay, so now you're threatening you would swing on LeBron James. But again, earlier, didn't we say you weren't angry, you couldn't be angry, and you didn't feel slighted about this whole thing? Okay, sure. And then LeBron James comes out and posts a video of Stephen A. Smith's boxing kind of training, and it wasn't great. I'm not a boxer myself, so I can't sit here and critique Stephen A. Smith's boxing skills because I'm not a boxer myself, but objectively, it looked kind of corny. It looked pretty corny. Stephen A. Smith then fired back with more comments about James continuing to beef between the two men. "That's how petty you've become? When has LeBron ever done something like that? The man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT?" Okay, so now you're saying that you think LeBron James is mad at you because you don't think he's the GOAT. Okay, sure. Smith also claimed that James never attended the funeral service of the late Kobe Bryant, which was then fact-checked, be proven false, that LeBron was there. He asked the cameras not to record him because if there's one thing about LeBron James in a public space, he's in a lose-lose situation. Either they record him and he gets shit on for taking the spotlight away from whatever the moment is, or hey, can you just not record me? And now people are like, oh, well, there's no video proof of him being there, so he must not have been there. LeBron James is in a lose-lose situation most of the time because no matter what he does, the other half of the population is going to be mad at whatever he does. So I think him respecting the idea of hey, listen, this is Kobe's funeral, rest in peace, Kobe. Obviously, we know they were great friends. It's hey, listen, don't record me. This isn't about me. This is about Kobe Bryant. I mean, even Diana Taurasi had a moment where she kind of gestured towards LeBron James and mentioned his name. So he was very obviously there. And even later, Stephen A. Smith came back and took back the claim and basically was like, does it have the exact quote here? It doesn't look like it has the exact quote, but he basically came out and said hey, I misspoke. I didn't mean to say he was never there, but he pretty adamantly said or claimed that LeBron James wasn't there. But I was like, well, I misspoke. I didn't mean to say that. The fact of the matter is he got fact-checked on something he said, and instead of just apologizing, he couldn't do that, so he said he misspoke. Could he have misspoke? I'm sure. I don't know Stephen A. Smith personally. He could have misspoke when he said that, but it just seems pretty weird and convenient that, like, instead of just apologizing for the matter, you continue to push this and say, oh, actually, I didn't mean to say that. No. You guys, no. I said it wrong. I didn't mean, like, it's like, come on, man. Just apologize. Say you made a wrong comment, and let's move on with this whole thing. I don't know. It's really kind of insane to me that all this started because of Bronny, for the most part. Not that it's Bronny's fault. It's not Bronny's fault at all. But listen, it's been a whole conversation about if Bronny deserves to be in the NBA or if he's in the NBA only because of his dad. At the end of the day, he was the 57th overall pick. Like, whatever. If the Lakers take it with the 57th overall pick, it is what it is. I enjoy basketball enough to, like, not care that Bronny's on the Lakers. I mean, sure, there are great second-round players. It happens all the time. You can find studs late in the draft. But the 57th overall pick out of 60 picks, if you want to take LeBron James' son, why the hell not? His dad plays on the team. You now have his son on the team. Obviously, it's the Lakers. They're a big-time team. They're going to get the publicity. Normally, now you get the publicity of having LeBron James and his son on the team. Bronny is a fine basketball player. He was a pretty decently high recruit, and then obviously we all know the whole thing that happened with his cardiac arrest, and we're all so very grateful that he made it back from that, and it took a big hit to his game. Bronny James has NBA level skill, and I understand. I'm not gonna sit here and try to convince you that Bronny is a starting point guard on a good team, or I'm not gonna sit here and convince you of that, because I personally don't know. He has flashes where you see something good. He also has moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely still a young player that has a lot to work on. But the fact of the matter is, the kid can play basketball. This kid's not just some random ass scrub like Michael Jordan's kids, but that's a whole nother point. I'm not getting into all that right now. I'm just saying that the way Stephen A. Smith be kind of slurping up MJ and talk about, we don't talk about MJ's kids. Again, MJ's kids are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. If they want to, smoke crack instead of play basketball, that's their own prerogative, and that's nothing to do with LeBron James and Bronny. And it's just kind of, that's the conversation turns into LeBron's kids versus Michael Jordan's kids. That's not what the conversation is. The conversation is, why does it matter? Why does it hurt people's feelings so much that Bronny is on the Lakers? Why did it hurt Stephen A. Smith's feelings so much that Bronny is on the Lakers? Bronny comes in, he'll have a good moment. The fans are chanting for him whenever they're up by a good amount of points. If you're there in person at games, you want to see Bronny. The only place that people don't like Bronny is on Twitter. And we all know Twitter's not a real place. People get on there, they complain all the time. Twitter's the only place that doesn't like Bronny. People in real life like Bronny because he seems like a good kid. He knows how to play basketball, obviously. It just doesn't make sense to be so anti-Bronny. It really doesn't. Now we have this whole thing was, he kind of, LeBron goes off and Windhorst says that, like, oh, he doesn't really know me like that, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get in all this. I really want to talk about the Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James, because then Stephen A. Smith came out and made a comment that, like, he was here before LeBron. He's here, obviously, now. He's going to be there after LeBron. Maybe LeBron's jealous of that. I don't really understand the whole power trip that Stephen A. Smith is on right now. He just got a around $100 million deal from ESPN. Like, he is locked in. Stephen A. Smith, I've been a fan for Stephen A. Smith a long time. I think he's always spoke from his heart and with truth. And he's one of those guys that it's like, you know what? You can actually tell he kind of means what he's saying. With some of these reporters, I feel like they kind of push things that maybe they don't fully believe. Stephen A. Smith feels like one of those guys that has always pushed what he believes in. I've always had respect for that. The problem is it feels like it now has progressed into more of an ego battle than it has. There's just nothing to do with basketball anymore. This is all purely personal. And again, if you want to blame LeBron for making the comments, a year or two ago that Bronny's better than some of those players on a NBA court, sure, okay, it's a father being supportive of his son. If that was any regular Joe Schmo that would say that, people wouldn't really give a shit, but it's LeBron James, so people are going to give a shit. I don't think it's that weird. I think he's just a guy that's very, very confident in his son's abilities. He knows the kid better than any of us. If you're really, really that pissed off about that, I think you're just a little bit weird. I think you're just taking things a little bit too seriously, and you need to relax on a father. At the end of the day, LeBron James is a father to Bronny before he's an NBA player, and you need your father's approval, or not approval, but like your father's support. And I know a lot of you never had that, so I'm understanding. That might be weird to some of you. You guys might not understand some of that, but that's again a whole nother conversation. I don't feel the need to get into right now. You just got to understand that this kid Bronny has a father like LeBron James. No matter what Bronny does, it's going to be scrutinized because people do not like LeBron James. LeBron James is a very, very polarizing public figure. You love him, you hate him. You either an avid listener of Bronify or you hate the guy's guts. It is what it is. I see people that for years have been saying about how bad ESPN has gotten. Stephen A. Smith sucks. Blah, blah, this sport sucks. They keep bringing in these bad talents. Completely anti-ESPN now, but as soon as the flip switches, the flip switches, As soon as the flip switches, and we're now anti-LeBron on ESPN. Whoa! All of a sudden, it's I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I agree with this. I agree with ESPN here. I agree with this. They should be talking about LeBron James. That has some weird undertones. But again, I'm not going to speak on that because personally, obviously, I'm not able to fully identify all that kind of stuff. It's just the hate for LeBron James surpasses a lot. It surpasses a lot. I'm a fan of LeBron James because he's a phenomenal basketball player, one of, if not the best of all time. And you would rather sit around and be pissed off that he's a great player with a son that's down in the NBA, and you'd rather be like, no, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. Shut up and dribble. It's just, I don't know. I guess to me it's ridiculous because I enjoy basketball enough to not give a shit. There's no players in the NBA anymore that I hate. And hate's a very, very strong word. That I dislike. Growing up, you know how it is growing up. You have these opinions about players. You don't like this player. You don't like this player because maybe they beat your favorite team or maybe just something like that. You know what I mean? But I've, in the past few years, been able to grow up. Honestly, the truth is I've been able to grow up enough to understand that these are all people that are living their basketball dream and doing it to the best of their ability. And I don't have a dislike for anybody. There's certain players I'm not exactly a fan of. I'm a fan of some players. I'm not a fan of other players. But there's no displeasure. I'm not happy when they lose or anything happens. Like Joel Embiid, I don't like Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, but I've never been somebody that's been happy he's been injured. I always root because he's an MVP level player. You want to see him be the best of his ability. I don't understand how we can hate, coming from a Twitter point of view, people that we don't know that are living their dream. I mean, is it jealousy? Yeah, I mean, these players are making hundreds of millions of dollars to play a game, and they know that. We all know that, and they were just, I mean, it's a lot of luckiness. You don't just, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of natural born talent, but also you have to be lucky. You just have to be noticed. It's what the fact of the matter is. And maybe some of you were great basketball players that didn't get noticed, and maybe you're jealous about that. Cool. Maybe some of you just suck at basketball, and you weren't able to get noticed that way. It is what it is. These players are the best because they dedicate their entire lives to this craft, and Bronny's done the same thing. And for Stephen A. Smith to come out and make a shot at LeBron saying, listen, as a father, you need to stop this. That is just some dumb shit. That is just some ignorant shit to say. Because frankly, Stephen A. Smith does not know LeBron like that. Doesn't know Bronny like that. It's pure ignorance and purely like no reason to make it personal like it is. Skip Bayless has been a avid LeBron hater for his entire career. But the difference between Skip Bayless and what Stephen A. Smith has just pulled is that Skip Bayless keeps things on the basketball court. He doesn't like LeBron as a player because of this, that. He doesn't think he's as good as Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. If you have your gripes, you don't think it's as good as Michael Jordan, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you otherwise. Whoever you have as your GOAT, LeBron, Michael Jordan, maybe you have Kobe as your GOAT, maybe you have Kareem as your GOAT, whatever. Whoever you have as your GOAT, it's fine. That's literally, there's no problem with that. But if your entire conversation is, I think MJ is the GOAT because he went 6-0 in the finals, or he was an all-defensive player like every year, he played both sides of the ball so well. Okay, yeah, man, those are valid arguments, and of course people are going to argue with that because they're a fan of LeBron, they're a fan of MJ, they're a fan of, it's going to happen, people are going to argue with you, but those are like legitimate conversations you can have. But if you don't like MJ because he gambled, okay, you don't like LeBron because you think he talks too political, or he forced his son into the NBA, now it's like, this has nothing to do with these players as basketball players. This is them as people, and you frankly just don't know these people well enough. This beef even got to the point where the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, came out and made a comment. His comment was, I saw some of the headlines that came out of it. I mean, it's fascinating, Silver said when asked by a reporter at a news conference. It seems to be more celebratory often than it is in the NBA, and I accept it. Silver said, we're often a beneficiary too. There's seemingly as much social media interest in this league at times, and all of the leagues combined, like basically in the NBA, is the most like social media driven league. Like there's just so much more talk online about NBA than like all the other sports, which may be true, maybe not be true. I don't really know. So it's a two-edged sword. Sometimes it's measured in column inches, and it's wonderful to see so much interest in our sport. At other times, I cringe at a lot of its coverage. Adam Silver saying cringe in 2025 was definitely not on my bingo card, but hell yeah. I would just say in terms of that back and forth again, I haven't had an opportunity to watch or read precisely what went on today, but of course we'd like the focus to be on the play on the floor, and I particularly feel protective of our players, of course, but I recognize that there's a cottage industry out there of media that we are often the beneficiary of that talk about our sport around the clock, but I sure wish it had never become personal. That right there, the NBA commissioner saying, hey, listen, we understand media is a industry. The NBA media is one of the biggest medias about any sports in the world. And it's a big thing because it grows the game, but it also hurts the game because it is so negative nowadays. I had this whole conversation back at the All-Star break about Draymond Green and that whole All-Star debacle about how poorly players were talking about the sport and how poorly NBA media was talking about the sport. It does not bring in new fans when anytime they turn on an All-Star event, a big game on national TV, and they're talking bad about the sport. It makes people not want to watch it. These players are fair game to talk about. It's fair game to talk about. You don't think Rudy Gobert is a good offensive player. You don't think Trae Young can defend. It's fair game to talk about these players and critique their game. What is not fair game is to get on there and talk about people's livelihood or talk about people's family, and it just doesn't make sense. Why do I need, let's take a second here. I'm Stephen A. Smith, okay? I have $100 million. Hell yeah, man. Shout out to me. What do I get by calling out LeBron for not going to Kobe Bryant's funeral? By the way, it gets fact-checked to be false. What does that do other than push a wedge between our star player, our biggest name in the sport, and the media? You are driving a wedge between the two groups. Some players love to talk to the media. They give great interviews. Some players hate to talk to the media. And honestly, either way, you can't be mad at it because reporters love to twist words, make stories about things that are not actually stories. NBA media is in a horrible spot right now. And part of it is the people in the media. Part of it is these people speaking. Part of it is, I think, the way Twitter has kind of blown up over the past few years, and just the need to like have clicks has blown up recently. That's like, listen, if I push a word into a negative notion, people are going to click on that. People are going to say, why is LeBron James mad this time? Why is this person mad this time? Does this person want to leave this team? People are going to click on those videos because they want to see that. The problem is there's not enough love being shown in NBA media. I can turn on an NFL news story, and sure, yeah, they're going to critique a player's game, but they're going to talk about, I don't know, their NFL Man of the Year award. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like the NBA is in such a different spot with the media where it's constant negativity, and I just don't. We might be at the point where it's just too far to get back.